Hello, my name's Murek Stiles. I'm the head of audio products at Abbey Road Studios, and we are about to meet the legendary Ken Townsend, MBE, the inventor of artificial double tracking. So Ken, can you please tell us a bit about your career here at Abbey Road Studios, how you became a technical engineer, and then of course you went on to become the general manager of Abbey Road Studios?
When I was 17, with qualifications of pure maths, applied maths, physics and chemistry, for instance, EMI, engineering development, were looking for 5-year apprentice or trainees. And I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. And I applied for a job at Hayes and got it. So on the 1st of November 1950, I started my long career at EMI at Hayes. I'd been up here in 1952 once with Jim Mays had brought us up to show us the studios, and I thought it was the place to work in EMI, and so it was quite nice to come up here. And while working there in 1954, Abbey Road was short of people, and I came up for an interview here with my friend Dave Frost, who was working with me in Hayes, and they took us both on. My official job title was recording engineer, because we were all recording engineers, and the operational staff, which are now called recording engineers, were called balance and control, and then became balance engineers. But the terminology has changed now. But we were the people who knew everything about what was going on, and they sat behind the faders and operated them and such like. So when I got here, of course, I'd done a lot of technical work.
So ADT, artificial double tracking, which you invented, how did that come about?
I'd been working on a Beatles session one evening, one night, and I think about 4 o'clock in the morning, I was driving home and thinking, you know, we've been spent the last 3 or 4 hours overdubbing, double tracking voices. It's not an easy task to double track your own voice. The timing's got to be perfect, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I thought, you know, there must be an easier way of doing this. I knew the J37 because when we overdub voices, we sent off from the sync head of the J37. I also have a ridiculous knowledge of numbers due to my mathematics, I suppose. I also knew that the distance between the sync head, or record stroke sync head and replay head on a Studer was about 1.5 inches. And on a BTR2, our workhorse, was about 3 inches, almost exactly. And I thought to myself, well, if I took the output from the sync head of a J37, which is excellent quality, you know, superb quality, and I then took the replay head, and I took that off and fed it into a BTR2, and if I fed that at 30 inches per second, that would shorten the length to about 1.5 inches. But not only that, I thought, well, if I then put that onto frequency control, I can adjust the speed of the BTR2 to be almost exactly the same as the two. And I've got 2 signals. One is the original signal, and then the same original signal, but delayed by about 100 milliseconds, I think, if it's 1.5 inches out of 15 inches per second. And then that delay, and I can put the two together and see what it sounds like. I went down to Studio One and told Stuart Eltham, who was one of our top balance engineers at the time. We put it on a 4-track machine. I set up exactly what I thought I wanted to do, and tried it, and it actually worked quite well. Stuart said, well, you've got to give it a name. So he said, why don't you call it artificial double tracking?
That's how ADT came about, I guess,
It is. I mean,
so you didn't have to double track your voice twice. You did it artificially.
The thing of it was, of course, is that it saved a track, because you had 2 tracks when you actually recorded a second voice onto a 4-track machine. You'd lost 2 tracks already. You could do this on remix, and that's why some of the Beatles songs, the stereo and mono remixes, are different. Because I think you might find Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, for instance, which is one of the things I've got a bit of phasing on, is different on the mono track. The mono track is far better than the stereo. And of course, mono took preference in those days, because all the radio stations were mono. BBC was mono, you know, nobody wanted to play stereo, and all the kids that were buying records didn't have stereo equipment. And so we really concentrated on mono all the time. And that's how it really came about, really. I immediately also discovered that I mean, it's the technical engineers that always held the ADT machine and on all the sessions. And I found that if I vibrated just moved the oscillator between 50 cycles and up and down a little bit, we got some wonderful weird effects of phasing and flanging. And so we played it, and John Lennon was most impressed, actually. He fell in love with it straight away. Well, the beauty of what I suppose I'd done was that it was quite unpredictable in some ways, and you could get most amazing effects. So we also found that if we put one of the signals that I got back off of the two signals from the sync head and replay, put one of them into 180 degrees phase shift, and then when you wobbled it about the null point, when it could either cancel out or actually as a sort of a comb effect of filters, you get some amazing phasing effects. And these have been used to great advantage on records, particularly on the Beatles records.
It's interesting how digital devices over the years have tried to recreate ADT, phasing, flanging, which they have to some sort of degree, but you're actually using real tape machines to create these effects is just completely different to my ears to,
Yeah, well,
what happened later on in, say, in the 70s or the 80s.
I agree. I was talking to Paul McCartney 3 or 4 years ago, actually, when he was telling me that they've never, ever quite replicated the ADT I invented. And he phoned me once from when I was manager of the studios. He was working at a studio in New York. And he phoned me to say, can I explain to the chap out there how he can do ADT? And I tried to explain it, but there's no way that he could have done it.
Well, ADT is an amazing effect. And I think it's available now for the first time since the original setups. And the plugin sounds amazing. And just want to say thank you very much for being with us here today and telling us how this amazing effect came about.